And we live in such a groupthink world that we forget we have to know what our personal happiness is.
Hey everyone, this is Kim O'Neill from the Every Day's a New Day podcast and live show, and you're listening to the Going North podcast with the hilarious Dom Brightman. Be sure to subscribe to his show so you don't miss any episodes, and remember, every day is always a new day.
Today's episode is sponsored by book number 2 from Dominic Dom Brightman, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. It is the field guide to help unleash the elite performer that is inside of you. Cop it today on Amazon.com or heading over to dombrightman.com and snag it in book, ebook, and audio book, so that way you can take it on the go and get yourself on the go to your northbound success. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, is the Going North podcast. And we got another super special, awesome human for you today, folks. That's right, another super special, awesome human for you today, because she's my type of people. She's one of the happy people, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Because she's a happiness advocate, y'all. That's right, she advocates for happiness. And to make it even better, she's a CPC, folks, a certified professional coach. That's right, folks. She is certified and professional. She'll coach you to your next level. So she'll take you from valley to mountain, y'all. And she's a motivational speaker, and she's the founder of the secret that's not so secret Society of Happy People. So let's give it up for the PGJ herself, the powerful, glamorous, and joyful Pamela Gail Johnson. How you doing today, Pam?
Hi, how are you? And thank you for having me on.
Oh, yeah, that's right, indeed. That's right. We have the founder of the Illuminati in the podcast building, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's why it's no longer a secret society. They figured it out. They figured out she was the head of it the whole time.
They found me. They found me. They shared, So we just have to keep, sharing the happy.
Ah, there we go. Stirring the happy. That's right, indeed. So instead of Where's Waldo for 20 years, it was Where's Pamela for 20 years.
That would be one way to think about it. Yeah. I'm hiding.
Oh, man.
I'm actually seeing a sketch. I'm seeing a sketch of happy faces and me hiding.
There you go. That's right. She's just peeking behind microphones, y'all. Peeking behind statues. That's right. She's hiding in beaches. That's right. All the places where happy people hang out. And that's whatever they decide to hang out. But hey, as with all folks who found happiness, I'm sure there's some backstory that helps you to get to where you are, where you have 20 plus years of success with the Society of Happy People and all the happiness. Am I filling in any cavities I may have missed about you?
Yeah. No. I think I'm one of those people that, for the most part, I usually see the glass half full, but I'm not necessarily obnoxiously happy. I have my side of skepticism that exists. And so I've always kind of gravitated to happiness, I suppose, or gravitated towards being positive. So yeah, I hit a crossroads, and I was like asking myself, where are all the happy people? Almost 25 years ago. It was at the height of the Oprah, Jerry Springer movement. And I thought it would be a great idea to write an essay about a club called the Secret Society of Happy People. And so when I was telling people about my brilliant essay idea, they would say, well, let me know when you start it. I want to join. And it just sort of made me aware that people who feel happy more than not didn't really have a tribe. And so that's what we've been for 20 plus years, and promoting happiness. And we have 3 holidays for happiness. And so we try to encourage people to notice when they happen to be happy. We don't try to tell you to be happy if you're not, because there's nothing worse than that. Like you're kind of flashing somebody the peace sign and one of the fingers isn't up. When happy people, they have this tendency to walk around and try to, make everybody else happy, and you can't make somebody else happy. And in fact, the more you're trying to make somebody happy, that's, really in what we call a happiness zapping space, probably the more they're annoyed by you and just not listening to you. And you just have to sort of let them be in their space. Now, you still need to maintain your happy. You need to be you, but you don't need to necessarily try to think that's going to make somebody else change where they are.
There we go. Change like pennies, y'all. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right. So from paper to power to movement. There you go. That's right indeed. So 3 holidays. So when are these holidays? Because we got so many dang marketers creating these holidays out of nowhere, and then Wikipedia saying they were around for like 40 plus years, and it's like what? Like this was National Donut Day was really 1925. Okay. All right. So what are these holidays?
Yeah, I haven't looked that one up, but we started our first holiday was in 2000. That's Happiness Happens Day, which is August 8th. And some people were unhappy that they were busy that day and couldn't celebrate. So this is when we were like like maybe 100 members. And so we decided the following year to expand it to Happiness Happens Month. So that makes August Happiness Happens Month. And then some people said kids and stuff needed to celebrate. And so we added a third holiday in January called Hunt for Happiness Week, because sometimes in January, just especially depending on where you live, it's a little bit, it can be a little bit of a blue time. Like you've gotten through all your fall holiday hoopla. I mean, fall seems to have holidays for everyone. And then you get into January, and really the only holidays that we talk about after New Year's is we have serious holidays like Martin Luther King Day and President's Day. The only not serious holiday is Valentine's. But otherwise, it's kind of, you don't have spring break if you're in school. That's not till March, in some cases April. You may have a lot of snow. So sometimes you just have to hunt a little harder in January to find your raise your vibe and be a little happy. So that's when we picked January for that holiday.
Okay. All right, cool. So August to January, big months for happy people, y'all. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. If you see a snowman, build a bigger one. That's right. If you see a snow woman, build a bigger one. If you don't see no snowman, we'll build one and make Olaf happy for no reason. That's right indeed.
And just put a big smile on it. Yeah, you can just, you can do all sorts of smiles, button smiles, twig smiles, whatever you got around, berry smiles.
There you go. Especially when there's a holly involved.
Some holly.
That's right indeed. That's right. And if you don't have snow, make your own snow. Grab your neighbor's dandruff. That's right. Let me stop.
Well, that you might be waiting to get enough for a snowman, or you could just make a little micro snowman. Maybe one you can see under a whatever magnifying glass. That might be a fun contest.
Well, there you go. Something for science fair, right?
Yeah, might be a fun contest to see who can build the tiniest snowman out of not snow, out of dandruff or something that's not snow.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Well, speaking of tiniest things without snow and magnifying things, you decide to put a magnifying glass on what makes happy people happy, and then it exploded. So my goodness, so year after year, it sounds like some growth happened. So what was probably some of the setbacks you had along the way that actually ended up becoming a success for you during the whole process?
Oh, wow. Well, when you've been around 20 something years, it's life is ebbs and flows. So we, kicked out the gate, really, everything was great. And then, kind of slowed down. It wasn't doing what I hoped it would. So I was like, maybe it's time to, close shop. But this was right before 9/11 in 2001. And I literally that August said, I'm going to do Happiness Happens Month. And then I think in September, I'm going to give myself a week or two, but I think I'm going to go ahead and just close everything down. And then that day happened, and I realized we needed this society, because we needed to remind people it's okay to be happy. Like, it was, yes, this horrible, sad thing happened, but if you had a happy moment during this window of time, because babies were born that day, somebody fell in love that day, somebody celebrated an anniversary that day, some kid learned to ride his bike that day, there were happy things still going on. And if you had a happy moment during that window, that was okay. You didn't need to feel guilty about it. Sometimes we feel guilty, and this can be, let's say you lost somebody you love and you get past some of the initial grief for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, whatever window of time it is, but you're all of a sudden having this moment that things feel sort of normal, and maybe you're laughing at a TV show, or maybe you're sort of feeling better than you did. That's sometimes what happiness is. It's better than the moment you had before. And all of a sudden you think, oh, I'm not supposed to feel happy because I'm grieving. Or maybe maybe some coworkers got displaced, or there was a transition that went on, and you happen to have a good job day for, whatever your project was, or whatever. You had this good moment and you're feeling good, and then you're having no guilt that you still have your job. You're having guilt. And so you go, oh, I'm not supposed to feel happy because my friend got displaced and now they're looking for another job internally or externally. So a lot of times when life is complicated and there's a lot of stuff going on, we can shortchange that. So I realized the society needed to be around, because we needed to be reminding people happiness was okay. And then probably the year my mother passed away, that's if that's whatever year is the first time you lose a parent or you lose somebody and you're in grief. Grief is a type of unhappiness that just doesn't go away. You don't just go, oh, I'm going to be happy today. Grief is like you do a dance with it. It doesn't mean that you're unhappy all the time, but it was definitely a turning point for me. So that was a window. I actually took a few months off. I think I just sent everybody kind of a message that said I'm just going to be lying low, and I took some time away. So the society has definitely had a couple of windows of where I was like, okay, I'm done. And I've stepped back for and given myself some time, but there's usually always been some kind of catalyst that got me back into it. I know when I changed jobs from Staples to American Express, I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to be really low key. I'm just going to work on my day job and be super low key. And so a national magazine contacted us about Happiness Happens Month. And I was like, I got to get my website back in place and this and that, because I didn't want to, I wanted, again, my purpose has always been with Happiness Happens Month is to get people to think about happiness a little bit different, and to think about simply the times you feel good, basically. And again, sometimes feeling good is feeling a little bit better than you did. It's not always this like, oh, we're laughing and having fun. Those are super high vibe types of happiness. Sometimes happiness is feeling relieved that you cleaned out a drawer that you couldn't find anything in. And you're like, yay, now I open the drawer and I can find what I need. That's a type of happiness. Or sometimes happiness is contentment. It's just feeling content that like, hey, I wouldn't make a lot of changes in my life. I mean, it doesn't mean you don't have a bucket list. It just means that you wouldn't make any significant changes. You like where you live, you're content with your job, you love most of your friends. When people annoy you, you just pretty much blow it off because you're like, oh, that's just how so-and-so is. It's not a big dent in your life. So content's a type of happiness. Sometimes happiness is being honorable. It's doing the right thing. And so at the time you're doing it, you may be like, why am I doing this? Like you're maybe not getting credit for a work project. And because during the meeting, you say, no, I didn't do that. So-and-so did that. So you did the right thing. You gave credit to the right person, but you may feel, not quite happy about it. But as soon as you leave the meeting, probably 30 minutes down the road, you're feeling happy because you gave credit to the right person. You were being honorable and doing the right thing. Sometimes happiness is when we feel valued. When our significant other, when our friends, when our places that we work, they say, oh, we think you do XYZ great, whether it's your boss, your teammates, your peers, and they're valuing your contribution. Or your, like I said, your significant other, your friends, they're like, yeah, we come to you because we know you cook whatever really great and we want to, eat barbecue at your house on Sundays. And we like your company, but we're really here for your cooking skills. But you feel like a valuable part of that group. So there's a lot of types of happiness that happen just in our day-to-day, but we usually just sort of ignore them Yet we'll remember the person who cut us off in traffic for, 8 hours. Like, oh, that person was a jerk or whatever. And we just let it sit with us, and it just siphons away our happiness. But the person who was nice to us, or the person who made us laugh, or the person, who just made us feel good, somebody who makes us feel loved. When your child walks up to you and gives you a big hug, or if you don't have a two-legged child, you have a four-legged child that comes and is, saying, hi, you're home. I'm so excited to see you. And you're feeling that love. That's happiness.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That happiness indeed. That's right indeed. And it's good happiness indeed in your soul, right? Because it's like, yay, happiness is a great feeling. Good moments. You always remember those good moments, but sometimes, like, man, those bad moments, just even if it's a small moment, that much just sticks to you like glue for a long time indeed. So, my goodness, so what helps you to deal with that? Because if I'm not mistaken, do you still meditate twice a day, if I'm not mistaken?
I try to. I like to meditate in the morning. I start my day with that, and I like to end my day with that. It's just the way I sort of feel connected to myself and to my spiritual life. So we call the things that take away our happiness zappers. And we encourage people to create what we call a zap map, which is a zapper management action plan. So a lot of times people have a tendency, we want to ignore the things that zap our happiness. And when you do that, you're just kind of postponing having to deal with it. So that's never really good. So we divide zappers into 5 categories. One is unhappiness. So that would be things that deal with grief, kind of grief. And grief could be, you go to your doctor and your doctor's like, hey, we're got to change your diet, and you now have to exercise, and you now have to do a lot of stuff. And you're like looking at the doctor going, I don't want to. But the doctor's like, yes, you are, because your body's telling you need to do this because I've got the results here. But we still have to grieve that change. We probably weren't wanting to just eat salads or whatever it is we're needing to do, or we would have been doing it. We're now having to make a change we didn't plan on. And that's what unhappiness is usually revolved around. It could be an estranged relationship with somebody that's a friend or a family member, a divorce, a job that changes. All of a sudden they move you to a different department, and you're like, I didn't want to work in that department, and I don't like that boss. But they're like, well, that's where we need you to go. So you're like, okay. So we still have to grieve those experiences. And obviously the big one's death. And then stress is a happiness zapper, because I don't know anybody who doesn't deal with some kind of stress every day, and we all have to manage it. And probably how we manage it may even depend on the day. If we wake up well rested and we're excited about the day, things may not stress us out the same way as if we're like, hey, I got 4 hours of sleep last night. And then everything's, doesn't matter what it is, you're like, it's a stress moment. The next one's fear. And I always like to preface this: if you're in a burning down house, or you're in a relationship with somebody who's being abusive to you, those are legitimate fears. Those are different that's legitimate fears, and you need to contact the appropriate people to help you, the appropriate professionals. But most fear is between our 2 temples, and it stops us from doing things on that bucket list. It stops us from applying for that different job, from deciding we want to go do karaoke, even though we're not the greatest singer in the world, but just because we want to have fun, and not caring if we're not, a great singer. We're just, an okay singer. But karaoke is meant to be so everybody can have fun. It's meant to be that for you. So the fear stops us from doing this. Somebody was, I forgot, I think it was playing pool. And so he's like, oh, I'm not any good at it. And I'm like, oh, I'm not either. I just have fun doing it. Like, I would certainly tell people, like, I kind of suck at this game. So I'm just letting you know that if you want me to play with you. If you don't, I understand if you want to be in a serious situation. So the fear stops us. Like, I didn't go to trivia nights for a long time because I thought, oh, I'm not smart enough. I'm not this. But once I went, I found out people played on teams. So you're not the only one having to have all the answers, and you get to meet a bunch of people, and you learn new, mostly useless information, but it's still new and different. And you may go, I did not know that. And so but my fears stopped me from doing it for a long time. So our fears stop us from doing things. Chaos is another one. So we all have a day like our alarm clock didn't go off like it was supposed to. So we get up late, and if we have kids, or pets or whatever. We're trying to get everybody ready to get on that Zoom call or to get to the office or whatever your situation is. But to get your day started, there's going to be some extra chaos. Chaos is usually temporary. If you're in a natural disaster, it may last a few days, but the actual chaos itself is usually temporary. And that's when you're going through it, just always think in your head, this is temporary. This is going to pass. And then the last one is annoyances. How do we manage annoyances? And that's what we have the most control over, because the others are sort of just going to happen. How do we manage those? And that's like being upset that, say, the barista wasn't as friendly as you thought, or somebody didn't treat you like you thought they should. You may not know what's going on in their world. Even your spouse, you may not know really what's going on in their work life, or with maybe a sibling or with a friend until they're ready to share it. They could be stressed. I mean, we're all going to have these times that, we don't handle things maybe the way we'd want to. And so we get to choose how we're going to react to that. And we're going to get to choose if we're going to like be annoyed all day, or if we're going to, sort of let it go. And so, one of my rules of thumb on annoyances is, will you remember this a year from now? And if the answer is no, put it in the God box, go kickboxing to get it out of your system. Whatever your let go is, go do that, so that it's not zapping your happiness all day. Like I said, a lot of things like if your spouse puts their socks on the floor all the time in the same corner, guess what? They're probably going to do that every single day that they wear socks. And you're not going to remember being annoyed about it. You can decide how long you want to be annoyed. And I think that's where we lose a lot of our happiness, is that we just sit on that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. All the sitting, y'all. That's right, indeed. All the sitting. That's right, indeed. But hey, when you sit and zap, it's a good thing. So happiness zappers, baby. That's right. Zap. I'm happy again, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
I have a happiness zapping wand, so that makes it fun for me. So sometimes if it's just something little, I just zap my wand to get rid of that happiness zapper. I even have a collection, actually. I should have it with me, but we're not on camera. But I even have because it just makes it fun. Sometimes if you just make dealing with those chaotic pieces of life just fun, it makes it better.
There we go. That's right. She's a magician, y'all. That's right. Indeed, she's a witch, a good witch. That's right. That's right. With
Glinda,
positive
the good witch.
spells. Yeah.
I love
right.
Glinda.
That's right. She's got all the spells, baby, the good spells. Indeed. So, my goodness. So, it's actually funny we're mentioning the whole trivia thing, because it's like, hey, you wrote a freaking book. Like, a lot of people don't even get to the publish button of their book, and let alone market it after they publish it. So, my goodness, what made you to finally decide to hit that publish button and go to work and write and put this wonderful book out into the world on practical happiness?
Well, I had a reporter who asked me on our 20th anniversary what I learned about happiness. And I really sat down and I kind of came up with the 4 principles. Had it pretty much been our philosophy for the whole 20 years. They maybe weren't packaged as nicely, but they were our philosophy. And I thought, and I always hate to say this because you can be stumped, but for the most part, when people are frustrated, usually I can go help them this is when I do coaching. I can usually help them navigate that situation or make some changes that they need to make, but connected to those 4 principles. So the 4 principles are: happiness is personal. And we live in such a groupthink world, that in a competitive happiness world, that we forget we have to know what our personal happiness is. It might not be our kids, it might not be our significant others or our friends or other family members. We just have to sort of know what that is. Now, that doesn't mean you never go do something that doesn't make you happy. If your spouse wants to go to the ballet and ballet is not per se your thing, you still sometimes go, because you're getting to participate in giving, and you're getting to participate in love. You're participating in other types of happiness, and hopefully your spouse reciprocates with you sometimes. So it doesn't mean like, oh, just go be selfish. But if your idea of happiness is meditating twice a day, you need to make sure you take time to do that. So, you need to figure out what those are for you. And again, everybody's is different. And it's important that we honor other people's happiness by not judging it and supporting them when they need to go do that, because that just helps them in life. And then the second principle, which I mentioned, is happiness zappers are manageable. Nobody lives in this perfect stress-free world, or world that doesn't have happiness zappers. Absolutely everybody does every day. So what determines a mostly happy person versus a mostly unhappy person with their zappers is how they manage them. It's when they happen, it's their attitude towards dealing with them. Are they going to be a victim, or are they going to manage them? Because what happens with happiness zappers is they manage you if you don't manage them. So how do we identify those? And in the book, we have that whole process of creating that zap map so that it helps you manage them. But that's always going to be fluid. And sometimes it's fluid to the day, because sometimes something that would bother you one day might not bother you the next day. Depends on where you are. And then the third principle, happiness changes as you change. So a lot of times we're trying to cling on to past happiness, and we get stuck there. But our life is going to change. Sometimes we welcome those changes, but sometimes we don't welcome those changes. And so, as an example, probably when you were 4, you appreciated finger painting. And not only did you want to finger paint the paper somebody gave you, you wanted to finger paint the walls and just anything that you could put those little paint hands on, because you were having fun. And chances are, unless you're an art teacher, unless art is your thing, or maybe a grandparent, but as art is your thing, that is not what you would consider fun. You'd be like, yeah, it's kind of messy. I'm gonna have to clean up and blah, blah, blah. So our happiness is going to change as we change. Sometimes it may go full circle. Sometimes circumstances cause our happiness to change, unwanted or wanted. Like I said, health circumstances. Like I said, maturity, our natural maturity will contribute to that. So, but a lot of times we wake up and we're like, oh, I'm 45 and I really wish I was 25 and I wish I was playing college football again. And I'm thinking I'm going to go make the pros. And we're stuck there instead of appreciating where we are. And we get stuck in the past. And I always like to use this example. Let's say you and your family have this place you love to go on a vacation to, and you go pretty much every year. There are no 2 years that are exactly the same. Like, you may still love that spot, but your experience every year is going to be different, because everybody is different that is in that exact same vacation spot. And you're going to have years that you enjoyed it more than other years, because that's normal and that's healthy. So our happiness changes, and acknowledging that is important. And then the final principle is, and this is going to be the theme for this year's Happiness Happens Month, is happiness is bigger than you think. And it's based on the 31 types of happiness. So we really are going to try to help people add more happiness into their vocabulary, because when we introduce you to the 31 types of happiness, your brain, when I start asking you to look for this type of happiness, your brain is like a computer, and it just will automatically start looking for being all the times that you felt relief today. Every single time you felt relief, from maybe taking a nap to eating because you were hungry, to maybe having a difficult conversation with somebody, or finishing a work project, or that you are getting to 5 o'clock and you get to finish your work day, anything that felt relief to you, you're going to go, oh, that felt good. That was a type of happiness. You're going to start thinking about that every day. So we're going to do that with each of the 31 types of happiness throughout the month of August. So that's the fourth principle of practical happiness. And the book is filled with stories from over 60 people that are putting these types of happiness into action. So you're not just hearing the theoretical piece of them, you're actually reading stories so you can figure out how that might relate to your life.
Yeah, that's right. Story time, y'all. That's right indeed. Get your s'mores, y'all. That's right. Make sure the s'mores are smiling. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Because that's right. Pam's been dropping them gems. I love that One line that you probably forgot what the heck you said, but it's just so powerful because it sticks out to me is that we live in a groupthink society, and it's so darn true. It's like, oh yeah, let me be in this group. We seem to be thinking like, oh, I don't want to feel like the odd person out here. Like, oh, I think I'll just go ahead and join them in the groupthink, even though it may be a little strange. And sometimes, like, hey, work in reverse. Sometimes go with the good group, go with the happy group.
Well, yeah, go with the happy group and just be in touch with yourself enough to know, sometimes groupthink is great. Like I went to see opening weekend the Maverick Top Gun movie, and I didn't really know if I'd like it or not like it. I loved the first one, but I was like, well, I'll probably sort of be okay. But it was hot that weekend where I was at, and I was in Omaha, and it was, like I said, the weekend was kind of hot, and I'm like, I just want to go to the movies and just zone out. So I went, and I thought that was a big screen show. And like I left, I'm like, oh my gosh, I loved it. Like all my friends who said it was great, and everybody was reviewing it saying it was a really great movie. They were right, and it was groupthink. On the other hand, and I don't want to say the name of this one, but it was a book, a best-selling book. It's about to come out with a movie. My aunt actually wants me to go with her to see it when I see her, because it's coming out soon, whenever I'm supposed to be there. And she's like, yeah, maybe we can go see blah, 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 because I read the book. And I'm like, am I the only person in the world who did not like that book? now I want to go spend time with my aunt. So I will go with her to that movie because, she wants to go see it and I want to spend time with her. And so I'd love to do something that makes her happy. So that's going to make me happy, her being happy. Having said that, like the group think of that book is, like I said, I realize it's not my book, but I don't want to rain on people's parades because happiness is personal and I'm happy for them. I'm happy that they are in love with it. I'm going to be curious about the movie. My book club read the book, so that's why I read it. But it was, like I said, it's just good to know what your happiness is. Doesn't mean you don't dance around the group think if you need to. Because it's making somebody else happy, and you don't have to rain on their parades. Like I don't run around telling every post I see about that book that like, wow, I thought it was like unrealistic. I don't go post that. I don't, because why? Like, I don't need to rain on anyone else's parade. I'm happy when people are happy, whatever makes them happy, as long as it's, as long as it's moral, ethical, and safe, legal, whatever makes you happy makes me happy.
Oh yeah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. Whatever makes you happy indeed, that's right. Moral, ethical, and legal, y'all. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Watch out for the unethical. That's right indeed. That's when the danger happens. It's like a cactus inside of a kangaroo pouch wearing a turban. It's unethical. It's crazy. Watch out for it. That's right indeed.
Well, yeah, because if it's unethical, you're going to end up not feeling honorable, and that does haunt your conscience.
That's right. For a long time, longer than a wiener dog. That's right indeed.
Probably. Probably.
Maybe longer than 2 wiener dogs.
Yeah, it depends on how young you are when you were unethical, right? Depends on when the unethical started. You're like, oh yeah, because that can haunt you a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why being
right.
honorable and recognizing doing the right thing ultimately brings you peace, which is another type of happiness. Like I said, it might not in the immediate moment, but long term it will. And that's also sometimes not following groupthink. Sometimes it's like, you know what, I'm just not going to sit here and gossip about somebody. I don't know why they're getting a divorce. I don't know why they're whatever. Like right now, I'm hearing these reports about Elon Musk and one of the, I think, Google founders. They were, like, oh, supposedly they have this affair or whatever. And I'm just like, really, who cares? Who cares? Or the trial that was going on south of you with a famous actor and an ex-wife. I'm like, really? This is what we're talking about? Who cares? We weren't there. Who cares? It doesn't impact my life one way or the other. And so like just knowing that and knowing that about yourself is, it's like, do you want to go to low vibe stuff? What raises your vibe? What raises the vibe of others around you?
Oh yeah, that's right. Raise the vibe, yo. That's right. Pump up the volume, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right. So you can attract that tribe you want, y'all. That's right, indeed. Feel the vibrations. That's right, indeed. Feel it, feel it. All the good vibrations. That's right, indeed. Speaking of good vibrations, you've been spreading good vibes across the magical globe via your podcast, guesting, and all the other interviews on TV and radio, and it's like a whole boatload, almost Noah's Ark level. So my goodness, so is there a question that you wish you be asked more often when you're on these podcasts?
I think as far as what somebody might ask me on a podcast, it's really dependent on what's going on in our culture. And so I think most of the time happiness is somewhat related to what's going on. And I think right now, what I would say I want people asking more of is we've created a society where we're very well aware of mental and emotional health. However, we only look at it from the problematic side. And it sort of goes back to my argument from 20 years ago of, are you happier than you admit you are? Not pretend to be happy when you're not, but just with what's actually going on. And I think we really need to, if I would say my new question that I hope everybody starts asking me about is, how do we make happiness part of the dialogue about mental health? How do we make it part of the conversation? That is not to say, and when you read my book, you're going to read stories from people that you will think, wow, if I had gone through that, I don't even know if I would smile again. like, wow. And these were people who said, hey, I'm not going to let, one of my favorite lines is, I'm assuming it's slightly adultish, but she was dealing with her ex and she went through a horrific situation, but she said, I decided, screw him. He's not going to take away my happiness. And I like that line because and if you'd gone through, I kept thinking, wow, if I had gone through what she did, I would possibly be wearing an orange jumpsuit somewhere because I don't know if I would have responded the way you did. But this is again her story, not my story. It's her story, and she did respond that way. And so, and she deals with depression and trauma. She deals with depression and trauma, and a lot of legitimate, mental health issues, which are health issues. Mental health issues and health issues are under one, really are, like if you're diabetic or have high blood pressure, they go under that same umbrella and you have to manage them. But she's chosen to manage these situations and find more and more happiness. And so how do we start adding that component? Because if we only teach people about the problematics of mental health and emotional health, if we're only teaching them the bad feelings, feelings that lower your vibe, we're never going to help people raise their vibe. We're never going to help people feel better. And so sometimes recognizing happiness is really just feeling maybe better than you felt the moment before. And maybe it's super small. Maybe you just saw a cute cat video and it made you grin because you're having a really bad day. You know what? That's okay. And you still need to own that you were happy for that 15 seconds or 30 seconds, or if it's a long cat video, maybe a minute, because cats really like to have our attention. So whatever that is, you need to own that and say, wow, I felt good for a minute. So maybe tomorrow, how do I feel good for 2 minutes? Sometimes that's where happiness is. And until we get that added to the conversation, I think we're still going to be shortchanging our mental health conversation. That was a long answer to you, sorry, but I'm passionate about it.
Hey, we love passion here. Ain't nothing wrong with long. Ain't nothing wrong with long. We encourage the Great Wall of China. That's right. That's a historical landmark.
Now that
I'm
would be a
telling you.
fun happiness walk on the Great Wall of China.
Oh
We
yeah.
should do hands across the Great Wall of China, and then we can take a picture of it from the space station.
Ah, there we go. That's right, indeed. That's right. Sounds like a plan for happiness year 2023, baby. That's right, dude.
Yeah, maybe we should start lobbying for that now. We'll all have to go.
There you go. That's right, indeed. It's like, hey, Elon, you want some more Twitter? You want some Twitter content, buddy? We got you covered.
You just have like lot. Yeah, that would be a very long handheld. But anyway, it was like Hands Across America, which I forgot what year that was, but many, many years ago they did the Hands Across America. So we could do hands on the wall, hands on the Chinese wall.
There you go. That's right, indeed. That's right. Gives laying hands a new meaning.
But everybody will be
Ah,
smiling and in the clothes. Everybody will be wearing clothes and smiling. We want no inappropriating, in the hands, the hands connected.
I wasn't even going the naked people route, but okay. You
I
were
try to
kidding
keep
about
things
the
family
fish.
friendly.
Uh,
I do
well,
fall on the creative side, so
well, hey, yeah, you get to family friendly somehow by not being family friendly. But hey, that's not the direction we're in. So, this wonderful book, Practical Happiness, if it was a food, what would it be and why?
oh, I'm trying to think of what the most healthy, well-liked vegetable might be.
Yeah, go
I
for
think
your
it would just
favorite or
be.
something.
I think it wouldn't be a food. I think it would be a nice array of cooked vegetables that were your favorite. So it's healthy for you. It's a healthy, light meal of good nutrients for you. So whatever your idea of happy vegetable is, that's what it would be.
A carrot
Mine
shaped
personally would
eclair.
probably be. Mine would be asparagus, because asparagus, especially grilled asparagus, is probably my favorite. But some people don't like asparagus. Some people prefer other veggies. So I don't want to. I don't want to tell them what it is. But it's a healthy dose of food.
There you go. It's a healthy dose indeed. That's right, indeed.
I did think about a
Yeah.
banana too, because it's kind of a smiley vegetable.
And your book is yellow. So,
It is yellow, so it might be a banana. If you had to just pick one, a fruit, that's not a vegetable. A banana's fruit, but it's still healthy for you. It's how we get potassium.
that's right. The cost of the potassium. The potassium for the bananas. That's right. The practical happiness will make you go bananas of happy. Yes.
Well, and they smile. They're a natural smile.
Well, there you go. The bananas, the natural smile.
So as we talk through this, if I had to pick one, I would say the banana. But if we were picking, I would say whatever your healthy vegetable is, because if you get into the practical happiness mindset, the situations where you can't find happiness are going to probably be connected to, say, that unhappiness. And then you sometimes just have to sit in the unhappiness to get to the other side, because we explain that in the book. Because we don't want you to have feelings you don't really have. But otherwise, we're going to teach you how to manage your happiness zappers so that you work through them faster. That's the key word. You're managing them instead of them managing you. And then the rest is about how to be happier.
There you go. That's right. It could be a squash too. That's right.
Yeah, because squashes are yellow and they smile too.
Oh yeah,
Sometimes they're
that's right.
curvy.
Yeah, that's right. The curvy and plump. That's right. That's how we like our happiness, y'all. Curvy and plump. That's right.
That's a good description of it. Curvy and plump. Like we want it to be big.
That's right. Wants to be uber big. That's right. Practical happiness is very big. Very big smile. The biggest banana in all the land with a squash. That's right. That's right. With all the
Yeah. Well, it
vegetables.
depends. If you don't like a banana, you might like a squash. So you got your choice. Your happiness is personal, right?
That's right. The personal happiness. As long as it's not a squashed banana.
Yeah, that wouldn't be fun. That wouldn't taste very good.
Oh, man. My goodness. So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is, if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're in 2022, what advice would you give to yourself?
Well, ultimately, everything always works out. So when you're dealing with a happiness zapper, just remind yourself that ultimately everything always works out, and have faith. Have faith in that. I still do it. I let myself get stressed over things that I shouldn't let myself get stressed over. And so, but I do it less because I'm not 25 anymore, but I did it a lot when I was 25. So I would remind myself, like you said, trust that everything always works out for, you're good, the best, however you want to couch it. They're rarely completely wrong decisions. Most of our decisions just give us different outcomes, but it doesn't mean one was more wrong or more right than the other. It just means different.
Ah, there you go. That's right. Just means different, y'all. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. It's just different. That's right indeed. Call that thinking different indeed. That's right indeed. For those who need to think different and get some of that practical happiness, be the happy person in the room that pisses everybody off because they're jealous. That's right. So for those who need to snag that book and pick it up on audio as well, what's the best way for folks to do so and keep up with the wonderful journey that Pam is on?
Well, if you go to my website, sohp.com, there's a link, click it. You can join. Once you buy the book, you can join the Practical Happiness VIP club, but it has links to all the online sellers. But pretty much you should be able to walk into most retailers. And if they don't have it, they can definitely order it. But a lot of the retailers are carrying it, and the small bookstores, independents, if you have a favorite, I know Baltimore, where you're from, actually has a couple of books, nice independent bookstores that carry books, but if they don't have it in stock, I've just sent a bunch of postcards asking them to get it in stock. But if they don't have it in stock, they can order it. And it's in audio, it's in ebooks. They can just get it in any format you want it.
There you go. Hashtag postcard Pamela, baby. That's right. Get Pamela in your mind. That's right. Through your ears, through your eyes. Ebook and regular book. That's right. That's right indeed. Read it when the light's on. Go to bed. Pull out your smartphone or tablet. Read the ebook. That's right. Put it in your ears. Get that practical happiness. Show all that pH balance.
Exactly. That's a good one. I should start using that. It's a pH balance. It's balanced happiness. It's realistic happiness.
Oh, yeah. That's right indeed. It's like that boring seesaw image of work-life balance. It's like, yeah, the seesaw, nothing's happening. Let me stop. But in this
hopefully
case,
your
goodness
happiness
is
is just a little bit higher than your happiness Zappers. So that's what we're hoping for, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. We want it to be on the
a little
lean,
more
y'all.
happy than Zappers. Yeah. So we really do want a tilted seesaw.
There we go. That's right indeed. Full tilt indeed.
Exactly.
Well, before any more rabbit holes appear, any parting words before we close up shop, Pamela?
No, just thanks for having me on your show, and I hope your listeners, are thinking about happiness just a little bit different, and they'll, go to the website, and we can actually get the happiness counter if they go to sohp.com/gift, and you can download the whole 31 types of happiness list, so you can start counting up how many types of happiness you're experiencing every day. And then, of course, if you, read my book, because I think the stories will inspire you and help reinforce those types of happiness.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one listening right now. Thanks a bunch for sharing some of your time out of your day to listen to this podcast. To take it to the next level, be sure to share it with someone that you care about and that would get something out of this podcast too. Advance others to advance yourself.